welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my January mid-month wrap-up. So I have decided to split my wrap-ups into mid-month and end of month purely because I read quite a lot of books. I have already read 11 so far this month, and I decided to split them up because the video at the end of the month would just be really long, and I feel like I would forget details of the books that I read at the beginning of the month when it gets to the end of the month. So that's why I split them up. I will be doing stats in my end of month video, so if you are interested in reading stats, then please join me in the end of month video and you'll get to see all of my stats. So I'm going to run through the books in the order that I read them, and I do have them listed on my phone, so I will be kind of looking down at my phone referring to my notes as we go along. So to start with, I read The Gentle Art of Fortune Hunting by KJ Charles. This one is a historical romance, and I gave this one 3 stars. So what let this book down for me is I didn't love the romance between the 2 characters. I didn't feel their chemistry. I didn't see the romance develop the way that I would have liked it to. It starts out as kind of a deal that they make. So the premise of the book is there's 2 siblings, Robin and Marianne, who come from not a very wealthy background but want to make well for themselves. So they come to London and kind of work their way into London society by befriending people, and just being charming and, you know, working their way into society. And Robin goes after this girl who has a large dowry, but she isn't very appealing to the male population. She seems a bit plain, she's not as interesting as some of the other women on the marriage mart, and he decides to go after her because of her dowry. Her uncle suspects that this is what Robin is doing, and so they make a deal. The uncle says, you know, you stop going after my niece and instead you'll have me. And that's how it starts out, and I feel like the romance didn't really develop much further than that. I would have expected to see a bit more chemistry between them as the story progressed, and I just didn't really get that. So I gave this one 3 stars. I do think I would probably pick up something else from this author in the future, but this one wasn't quite there for me. Next I read Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. This is another historical romance, and one that has been on my TBR for a really long time. So this one, I'm just trying to remember, follows this main female character who is at university. She's one of the first students that goes to Oxford University, and she joins a suffragette group, and they decide to go after one of the most powerful men, who is the Duke of Montgomery is his name, and because he has a lot of political sway, so if they can get him behind their cause, then, you know, that he holds power, so he'll be able to sway the opinion of other men. And so it's Annabelle who ends up having to go after him because they seem to have a bit of chemistry, and it's their romance, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm really glad that I read this, and I definitely want to continue on with the series. I don't know why it took me so long to get to it, but I did like that one. Next we have Ready or Not by Cara Stone. This is a contemporary romance featuring surprise pregnancy and the best friend's brother trope. So the surprise pregnancy happens at the beginning of the book, off page. We start with the female main character. What was her name? I can't remember. Let me just have a quick look. Eve, that was it. Eve finds out that she's pregnant at the beginning of the book from a one-night stand. The guy who is the father is not in the picture. They don't have a relationship. It was just a one-night stand. And she does tell the father about the baby, and they try and obviously navigate that. There is obviously complications that arise from, obviously, as I say, it was a one-night stand, so there are complications that arise from the pregnancy, and them obviously trying to navigate how they're going to navigate being parents together. And her best friend's brother really steps up to the mark and really helps her throughout the pregnancy, and you can tell that he has had a crush on her for a really long time. He really likes her, and it's their romance, and I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of different elements to this book. The best friend has been struggling with fertility issues, so she finds Eve's pregnancy very difficult because it brings up a lot of emotions for her, so she can't be as supportive as she wants to be because of her own feelings, which is why her brother steps up so much. Really recommend this one, and I love Cara Stone's writing, and I definitely want to read more. Then we have A Jingle Bell Mingle by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This is book 3, is it? Yeah, book 3 in the Christmas Notch series. So they have been writing this Christmas romance series that is centered around filmmaking. So they have the Hope channel, which is obviously a version of Hallmark, and then they have, I think it's called Hope After Dark, which is like spicier Christmas movies. And this one follows, all the books follow members of this old boy band. All the heroes are from this old boy band, and this one follows, oh god, what was his name? Isaac, who has lost his wife, so he is very much grieving, and he's having a tough time. And then his relationship is with Sunny, who is a script writer, I think, or something like that. She's writing a script for one of the films, and it's their romance. I liked this one, but I didn't love it as much as some of the previous ones. I think because of the grieving element, this one wasn't as light and fun as the previous books in the series, so I gave this one 3.5. This is definitely my least favourite from the series, but overall I did really enjoy the series, and if you're looking for Christmas books, then I would definitely recommend this one. Then I read What Happens in the Ballroom by Sabrina Jeffries. This is book 2 in the Designing Debutante series, and I gave this one 4 stars. So this one follows oh god, I'm terrible with the names, Eliza, who is a widow. So the premise of this series follows 3 sisters who have set up this business to help people, or help women find their way through the marriage mart. So help them with what dresses to wear, how to act, which guys are maybe the most eligible on the marriage mart, and they help them navigate through that, and it's a business that they have. So they are hired by, what was his name? The Earl? Is he an Earl or Lord? I think it was the Earl of Foxted, and he employs them to help him find a husband for his friend's wife, also widowed wife. So there's kind of a bit of backstory, which I won't go into because it's a bit of a spoiler, but basically he says, I've got this, my friend was killed in the army, and this is his wife. She's obviously widowed, she's got a son, and she's looking for a husband. And obviously they're helping her, and it's Eliza and the Earl of Foxted's relationship. And I really like this one. I gave this one 4 stars, and I would definitely recommend this series. Next we have, what was the next one? Lights Out by Jenny Fletcher, which I also gave 4 stars to. So this one is a F1 fake dating romance, and I really like this one. This is Jenny Fletcher's first contemporary book, and I have to say I'm very excited to see what else she writes. I know there's going to be a sequel which follows the female main character's best friend, which I'm very excited for. That's coming out, I think, later this year. So in this one we follow a character who is studying sports psychology, and she has had a bit of a difficult time and is struggling with her course, and she ends up meeting this F1 driver who has a bit of a bad boy image and has had his own struggles as well, and he initiates that they fake date in order for him to improve his image, and he can help her with her sports psychology degree by giving her access to members of his team that she can kind of interview and learn from. And it goes from there, and I really enjoyed this book. I thought the romance was really good, and I liked the 2 characters together, so definitely would recommend this. As I say, Jenny Fletcher normally writes historical romance, so this is a bit of a departure from what she normally writes, but I'm really glad that she is writing some other things, because it's always interesting when an author switches subgenre, and as I say, really enjoyed this one. Then I listened to The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. This I gave 5 stars to. So as you can see, there are a few Christmas books on this list because some of my library holds didn't obviously come in December and came in this month, so that's why I've read them in January. I listened to this one and I absolutely loved it. So it follows 2 characters who work in a bookstore. So it's a very small family-owned bookstore and it is struggling. And they get told at the beginning of December that in January the owners may have to reevaluate whether they keep the bookstore running or whether they have to like reduce staff, because both of these characters are managers in the bookstore and they don't really get along. And at the start of the month they say, right, whoever makes the most sales, that'll be who they keep on in January. And the relationship between these 2 characters is really good. I love Chloe Leese's writing. It's always a lot of fun to read her books. They have a lot of banter between them, and there's kind of a subplot of she's talking to someone online, and I think it's very clear that it's going to be the hero that she's talking to online, but neither of them know that that is who they're talking to. And that was an interesting side plot as well, because they were obviously talking online and kind of building feelings for each other. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Definitely would recommend that one. I think it is set during the Christmas period, but I think you could get away with reading that one any time of year because it's not too over the top Christmassy. Then I finished Unladylike Rules of Attraction by Amita Murray. This one I sadly only gave 3 stars to. This one was one of the books on my January TBR, so I'm doing well. I've read at least one of the books on my January TBR. In fact, I've actually read 2 because the next one will be one from my TBR as well. This one, as I say, I only gave 3 stars to. I liked it, but I didn't love it. So the premise of this one is our main character is a court singer, court musician, and she somehow is friends with a dowager who has recently passed away, and the dowager in her will has left her fortune to our main character on the provision that she gets married before her 25th birthday. And as an extra part of the will, I think he's Lord Damien Ashton is his name, I can't remember her name, Anya I think, he has to approve the marriage. And it's their romance, but there is also a mystery subplot going into it as well. The previous Lord Ashton was killed, and it's always been suspected that maybe the current Lord Ashton had something to do with it, and they set out to find out what actually did happen. As I say, I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't love the romance in this one. I felt it was too convenient that they got together, and I didn't feel that they had a lot of chemistry. And the mystery element was interesting, but I felt at times that overtook from the romance, which when you're going into the book expecting a romance, you expect that to be the main thing. But as I say, the mystery subplot I felt did take over at times, and ultimately I just felt that there was a lot going on to in this book. What I didn't realise is this author before she wrote historical romance, has previously published exclusively mystery books, which does explain the mystery subplot and maybe does explain why that did take over a little bit. So I didn't love that one, but it was, it was okay, but not one that I necessarily loved. Next, we have another book from my January TBR, and this one was such a fail. So this is Unconditional by QB Tyler, and this is my worst read book of the month. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't like this one very much. I didn't really know, as I say, I didn't know the premise before going into it, which if I had known the premise, I might not have picked it up. So in this one, we follow Maddie, who, when she was 7 years old, her parents died in very violent ways. And Cal, who is a police officer, is the first one on the scene to find her, and he takes her in. And we get to see that at the beginning of the book, that scene where he finds her and she kind of becomes attached to him, and he ends up taking her in and becoming her legal guardian. I'm not quite sure how that works in terms of logistics, whether that is something that could be realistic to happen, that a police officer would be able to take in essentially a victim and raise her. And it's their romance, and I just didn't like this one. the romance is very, very much a physical romance, and I didn't feel the emotional connection. So I felt it quite jarring because the first chapter is, as I say, this emotional scene where she is found as a child, to fast forward present day and it's him thinking about how attractive she is as a 17-year-old. So not only is it between a guy who has essentially been her father figure, although there's no blood relation, he has essentially been a father figure to her, and he's raised her from a child and has seen her as a child and is now attracted to it. She is also only 17 when the relationship first starts, and I just didn't like it. Maddie felt very young. She's obviously got a lot of trauma from her past, and I think that might be why she read quite young. Like, even though she was 17, she read a lot younger than that, and the relationship was a bit, I didn't quite like it. And I have read age gap romances in the past that I have really enjoyed, so it's not that I don't like age gap. What I don't love is when the characters have known each other like when they were a child, because there's always like, especially when they reminisce about them being a child, and we get scenes throughout the book of her being a child, and then we get them interacting as adults in a very adult way, and I don't know, I didn't love that one. I think I will still try something else from this author in the future, because I know a lot of people like her books, but this one just wasn't for me. Then I finished When We Were Silent by Fiona McPhillips. I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This one is told in dual timelines, so we get past and present. So in the past we see our main character Louise in boarding school. She goes to not boarding school, but a private school she goes to, and there is a swimming coach there who is abusing some of the female students. And obviously something happens in the past that we're not aware of at the beginning of the book, but it's often referred back to, because she goes to the school in the intention of taking him down because one of her friends ended up harming herself because of the abuse that she was experiencing. And then we fast forward to present day, and it's set the same school, and basically history is repeating itself. There is a new swimming coach, and he is doing the same thing to the students, and she is approached to take part in this case, and it goes from there. Really enjoyed this one, would definitely recommend picking up more from this author. And then the last book that I've read is Beg, Borrow and Steal by Sarah Adams. I love this one. I gave it 5 stars. This is my favourite Sarah Adams book that I have read so far, and yeah, they start out as nemesis. They are both teachers, and it's their relationship, and I thought it was really great. I love the way it developed and would definitely recommend this one, and I can't wait to see the next book in this series. So far I've had a really good reading month. There's been a few misses, but quite a lot of good books, and I'm really excited to see what I read in the rest of the month. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Thank you, bye!